All right, Blackstone Fortress enthusiasts, where are my Necrons? Games Workshop, Blackstone Fortress, where are the Crons? I know there's an Overlord in there waiting just to reanimate and push out a couple of warriors, push out some Tomb Spiders, make the final fight a Necron Lord or an Overlord, that throw out some Cryptex in there. I know they're in there somewhere in the fortress. I mean, the level of expansion and possibilities for this game, and it's only year one. It's only year one. And I have to say, I'm liking this new Games Workshop. I really am. They're supporting systems. They're putting stuff out really, really fast. The new Eldar box, Eldar versus Dark Eldar, on there. That buy-in, the models are amazing for the aspects. I don't even play Dark Eldar on that end, but I'm going to buy them anyway and paint everything up Sam Han and realign, Calibite Warriors, whatever comes in the box. They look fantastic. I mean, it's just release after release after release. So this is amazing. And on a side note, I'm hoping that the Blackstone Fortress momentum continues. So now, this was really interesting. We have, I think it's next weekend or it's really soon, there's going to be 2 new boxes being released, which are essentially the enemy boxes from the Blackstone Fortress core. You're going to be able to get your hands on some proper, really amazing looking Trader Guard, and also some Beastmen and some of the other kind of aspects in there. What's interesting to me is I saw this years and years ago with Space Hulk, which at the time, the re-release of Space Hulk was revolutionary. You had snap, push, fit models for the Blood Angels that looked amazing. People were buying Space Hulk just for the Tyranids, just for the Dark Angels on there. And I expected to see a little bit more of that with Blackstone Fortress, maybe for the Trader Guard on there. But it doesn't seem to be as much. So now I'm wondering, with these new sets proper released, this is perfect to release things in there. And I'm good on cultists. My Berserkers of Scalathrax army, I pushed up some tactics there to my channel. Over on my blog, I talk about it. I have, if I'm going to admit to it, if I'm going to own up to it, because I can, it's kind of anonymous here. Mrs. Fritz doesn't listen to these podcasts. I probably have like 150 cultists ready to go. Have I ever played that many? No. But the allure now of being able to pick up proper Trader Guard and proxy them as cultists on there, or at some point proper Lost and Damned, that's just like, wow, that's out there. And Games Workshop seems to be doing that right. So right away, Blackstone Fortress, you're paying premium price, even as we have been conditioned over the years to just pay massive amounts of money to Games Workshop. The expansions are admittedly a little bit pricey on there, $50, $60 or so. From that perspective, okay, Trader Command gave you 2 models. Well, the new Primarchs and some of the releases of the veteran heroes, they're like $40 a figure on there. So it's not outrageous, and you're getting a lot of replay in the Blackstone Fortress, and you can use those models for your 40K army. So if you break it down that way, if you need to justify it, there you go. The box sets for these 2 Blackstone Fortress reinforcement releases on there, they are, I think they're 45 or 50. They're cheap for GW prices on there, and they give you a lot in there. So I expect this to fulfill that role of kind of pushing out if you're thinking about bulking up your army, but you don't want to cannibalize your Blackstone Fortress. And the reason why I haven't pulled them into my Berserkers of Scalathrax is the basing and the markings for Scalathrax, I think wouldn't look the same or wouldn't fit in the narrative of the Blackstone Fortress. So I've been kind of waiting on that. Now there's an opportunity. On the Blackstone Fortress side, this is also going to be part of a card set that is now going to jack up the difficulty incredibly. And this is a little bit of criticism that I've seen with Blackstone Fortress, and I think it's a little bit unfair, honestly. Admittedly, slight bias towards 40K, towards Blackstone Fortress. But with any type of dungeon quest game where there's a campaign, meaning you play through a string of missions, doesn't matter how many, and you're playing the same characters and you're leveling up with loot, you're becoming inspired or you're gaining abilities, things like that. Gloomhaven, I love Gloomy. I love it. It's kind of the same thing. At a certain point, it's that point of no return. You cross over and your characters are so powerful that the core game really can only ramp up so much, because in any core game, you only have so many monsters, so many miniatures, so many adventures. It often takes expansions to interject new difficulty on there. And that's not a criticism of the formula. Every game follows this. So I think it's a little bit unfair to say Blackstone Fortress was a little bit too easy with how it plays. It's not easy because of the difficulty level. The difficulty level is there, but once you reach a certain level, yes, you are godlike. What I've noticed, and this is something that is coming from 40K players. 40K players being a war game, tactically, I'm trying to think how to say this to balance this gently here. I think compared to many board gamers, because Blackstone Fortress is geared towards a board gaming hobby market, even though a lot of 40K players play it, the tactics of staying in a group, crossfire, who and when to activate, moving cover to cover, just kind of generic war game, skirmish game 101, kill team fundamentals 101. 40K players, we have that down. So you're going into Blackstone Fortress, even though it is a completely different rule set than 40K, you're familiar just with the core tactics on there, especially if you've been playing Kill Team and games of 40K. You know what to do. So I think it's a little bit easier for us, and if right out of the gate Games Workshop upped the difficulty for kind of the generic gaming market out there to try to pull people into 40K, then it might be a little bit too challenging. What do you think? Okay, so now we're getting into this idea that they are releasing this card pack, and from what I've seen, I want to see a little bit. I'm going to pick it up because I'm interested in jacking up the difficulty level. Being a completionist is a really bad thing. Being a Games Workshop completionist is even worse on there. But the 3 or 4 cards that I've seen, the difficulty seems really high on there. Not only in the numbers that are spawned, but the effects. And the effects are an interesting part of the Blackstone Fortress. I enjoy them because they introduce kind of this feeling, this narrative. You feel like the fortress is literally alive on there. It's hard to really capture. It's hard to really explain. So these effects going on in the various chambers where you're fighting, I welcome that narrative on there, even if some of them really are punishing, even from swingy Games Workshop standards and point of view. They are challenging. So we're going to have 3 or 4 times the amount of enemies on the table, plus the potential for reinforcements going on, calling in reinforcements, plus the potential for some really, really interesting effects. That's going to be a real challenge. And at the same time, you are, even if you're godlike, you are limited to 4 explorers. You got the retinue if you pull in the other expansion on there, but essentially, much like a war game, you are physically limited on the pieces that you have to command. So I'm just interested to see how it's going to play out. And it looks like it's going to ramp up the difficulty without just being like, let's just apply a formula, jack up everything by ×3. But the Blackstone Fortress is continuing. I just need those Necrons. I'm not going to say that's it. If I get my Necrons, then I'll be happy. I won't be happy until there's more and more and more and more crazy stuff on there. But I'd like to see another kind of... I think we're okay on characters right now, but I'd like to see one more pack coming out.